Hello, everybody. I'm a minute late. I hope you won't mind. But I'm in my garden. I'm getting it ready for this season. It's a little bit late, I feel. Normally I do this at the beginning of May, but we were waiting for warmer temperatures and waiting for the compost to be ready. So now we're ready to go. Lots of birds making calls today. Sounds like an eastern towhee, along with some house sparrows and a robin. All right, let's get talking about this. So today we're going to be talking about gardening, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am still developing my green thumb. So gardening doesn't come intuitively to me, and so I want to gear this towards people that might be new to gardening or new to planting in general, and give them some of the tips that I have been working on myself to become a better plant parent, as people like to say nowadays. Hello, Ronan. Hello, Red Rabbit. All right. Yes, Allegra, this is going to be for you. So, first off, why should you garden in general? Gardening in general is good for your health. One, it gets you outside, and all the health benefits that I always talk about being outside apply the same to when you're in the garden. Plus, you're doing physical activity, so you can promote that kind of health as well as mental well-being, and also another health-related benefit is that you're eating fresh food. It doesn't really get much more fresh than going out to the backyard garden and picking some string beans to help fuel your lawn mowing chores, which is what I used to do as a kid. Don't tell my mom that I used to steal string beans from her garden while I was mowing the lawn. Also raspberries. My mom is watching. Sorry, Mom. But also, I mean, it saves you money at the grocery store. You have to buy less at the grocery store. Although there is that joke that, like, you're taking 3 months of your life to save $2 on a tomato at the grocery store. But, I mean, there's the added benefit of it being grown by you, plus it's more fresh, plus all the things I just mentioned about being outside. So, I mean, I think it's worth it. So, let's get started. The first thing, let me just show you my setup here, or my mom's setup. I shouldn't take credit for it. This is really all her. So she has raised beds here, and you can see there's different color soil, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But each bed has different plants that grow in it, and this is actually last year's kale. So I'll come in and show you. You can recognize the kale. And I can pick this up and eat this right now. And sometimes we also give it to the chickens. I have to do some weeding in there. But it's actually gone to flower. So kale, the reason it's here right now is because it actually overwintered. Kale can overwinter. It kind of just goes dormant. It can freeze. And then once it gets warm enough, it keeps growing again. I don't really know how that works. I'm not sure if it's like frogs where they can prevent their cells from freezing, or if they can just handle it. I didn't have a moment to check that out. Hello, Miss Jen and Mr. Jace, and they said they like my haircut. Thank you. Yeah, I was wondering if you guys would recognize me, so don't be worried. This is still Mr. Sam. So I'll go back to the soil here. So when you're starting a garden, a lot of people like to buy gardening soil to put into their flower pots. That's totally okay. That works. That soil is made for gardens. My mom, what she did way back when I was a wee lad, was she tested the soil to see what kind of stuff she might need to add to it to make it good. And you can do that as well. So the soil here is the soil that's been here. And what I did was I mixed it up. I dug into it, but then also added the compost. And the compost, what I do is I just dump it like this, and then I kind of just spread it out, and then eventually I'll mix it in to the soil. And that's going to give all the benefits that I talked about in my composting video, which would include, there's a big root there that I gotta take care of, which would include nutrients and helping retain moisture and aeration, and also positive microbes and stuff. There were so many worms in this, and so now they're all in the garden, which is great. I was a little disappointed with how the compost came out this year. I can show you. So, turn. It's supposed to just be all brown like this, but the wood shavings from the chicken coop didn't fully break down. It's also supposed to smell like the forest floor, and I know you guys can't smell through Facebook Live, but trust me, it does, and it's wonderful. But I mean, this is good. It still has the nutrients and stuff, so I'm still putting it in. And those wood shavings will continue to break down as time goes on. But yeah, so I'm mixing that in, and I want to keep it towards the top, and then the nutrients can kind of fall down as it gets watered and stuff like that. And another thing, if you're a recurring garden, like if you had a garden last year and now you're getting it ready for this year, it's important really to mix up that soil. I dug down maybe 6 or more inches, really to loosen it up, because there's old roots and stuff you want to break up, and that the soil is also kind of compacted. So compacted soil, it's hard for the roots to grow because they need to push through the soil. That's part of the reason why worms are good, because they kind of loosen up the soil as well. So, all right. So the next thing that you want to worry about when you're gardening is that you want to make sure that you have the conditions right for the plants to grow. So some plants like acidic soil, some plants don't. But I think the number one thing is you want to make sure that your plants, you want to check if your plants are full sun or partial sun. And unfortunately with this garden, it used to be a pretty good amount of sun here, but as these trees kept growing, it blocked off the morning sun. It still gets it still gets sun throughout most of the day, and the garden has still been working well, but unfortunately, we may have to move it soon, unless we just grow plants that prefer less sun, which works as well. But yeah, so you have to worry about sun and stuff like that, but also zones. So if you're going to the garden store or like Home Depot or something, and you're picking up seeds, most of the seeds that you're going to buy here for garden plants are plants that can grow in our zone. And a zone is essentially what section of latitude you're at on the earth. And I believe we're in zone 6, but I shouldn't make a claim like that without knowing. But you can look that up. It just means that the plant can handle our summers and our winters. You'd be surprised actually what plants can survive in our zone. I actually have 2 lemon trees that are growing. They stay inside my house in the winter, but in the summer they can hang out on our deck. They actually prefer the shades, and we have a big maple tree, and the maple tree provides enough shade for them. And as long as the weather's warm enough, they're good to go, which is really nice. But yeah, make sure you look at the zones. Another thing which I think is a beautiful part or aspect of plants is that actually they have plants that they grow better with, like compatible plants, companion plants, I believe is what they're called. So if you grow them together, they're more likely to grow more healthy than if you grow plants that aren't compatible. Sometimes certain plants like to leach off each other, or certain plants like acidic soil and others don't. So they make the conditions either good or bad for each other. And some examples of plants that like to grow with each other are carrots and tomatoes, eggplant and peppers, and then also corn, squash, and beans, which actually different Native American cultures called those the 3 sisters, and they would grow those together, which is a nice way to think of it, and they're supporting each other. Oh yes, my mom mentioned that our lemon trees have big thorns. I'm going to pass by there as we go because we're going to check for chicks at the end. We're going to check and see. They have a bigger enclosure now, and they are bigger. So as we pass by, I'll show you that. But it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then the last thing you want to really worry about is when you're gardening is to make sure you pull up the weeds. So with plants, the problem with weeds is that they take up a lot of the soil space and they take up a lot of nutrients. So I haven't weeded in here yet. This is all chickweed, which is actually edible. So I actually feed it to the chickens sometimes. And we have a little maple tree growing. But we pull this up, and that just leaves more of the nutrients and soil space inside this bed for the plants to grow. And we're actually going to cut these down, these kales, because they're starting to get bitter, and feed them to the chickens. I want to show you. So here's nice healthy kale, and here's a kale plant that we gave to the chickens. It's all gone. So most of them will end up being like that, actually. And the last tip is that you should just have fun with it. Grow cool things if you want. Grow plants you haven't tried before. My mom has took my older sister's old bed frame and made flower beds. And this just adds to an aesthetic, but also if she wants to grow like any kind of vining plant, like a squash or something, she can thread the vines through this, and it actually looks very cool. So I mean, yeah, you can have fun with it, grow cool things. That's why I've been growing the lemon trees, because why not? All right, so next I'm going to show you some plants that we plan on growing in our garden, and then we'll go check out the chicks. Oh, I also want to mention, I forgot this part. This little side offshoot bed, I'm going to turn this into a little pollinator garden. So I have this little pollinator seed mix that I got. And so I'm going to spread that in here, and then also some milkweed in here. We've never grown milkweed here before, so it'll be nice to see if we get the monarch butterflies to come. All right, while we're here, let's check for eggs, because we haven't done that in a while. There might be a chicken on it, so everybody be quiet. Don't make noise. Don't make a sound. Let's see. Oh no. All right, we're back. We're back. I'm trying to see, because Littlefoot is right on the other side of this curtain. And I want to see if she comes in. Come on, Littlefoot. She's very shy, so maybe not. All right, let's go look at some plants. Oh, I should also mention, we put like a netting down on the walkways so that weeds don't go through, but we also have straw that we laid on, and here's a new thing of straw that we got. It's important to get straw because if you get hay has seeds in it and straw doesn't. So we don't want to grow that because then the horses will come, obviously. That's how that works. I'm sorry if the connection was spotty there for a little while. I forgot to connect it well. All right, so we have them up on the garden right now. This is our little herb garden, and the herb garden will always stay close to the kitchen, which is right inside the door here, so that we can use it for cooking. This is lavender and basil, and this is spearmint, and then we might put some sage in there that's currently growing in the garden. We have some flowers over here. These are geraniums. They'll be nice. I mean, flowers add a nice aesthetic to your garden, but they also bring in the pollinators, which is good. This is Dusty Miller. And these are marigolds. Let's see. These are Better Boy tomatoes. I'm not a big fan of tomatoes myself, but they are very good. and very healthy. Got green peppers, yellow peppers, banana peppers, and then finally sweet potatoes. And a rock. And then she's also going to be growing, we're also going to grow string beans and zucchini from seed. And we have a strawberry plant that just grew naturally from the compost, actually, in our garden. So we're just going to leave it. Sometimes when things pop up from compost soil, we like to leave it. We grew a cantaloupe one time by accident, but it's fun. All right, let's go check out the chicks. Here's one of my lemon trees, by the way, and the giant thorns. Like, I mean, I don't have big fingers, but that's pretty big. It's like maybe 2.5 inches. All right. So they have this huge enclosure now. And they're a little bit more skittish, unfortunately. I'm sorry, girls. I thought we could be good friends. So I'm going to go ahead and plop this in. Right? Maybe here. Let's see. So I'll shut this off. All right, that's not going to work. So they've actually grown a bit. The one looking at you right now is Cleopatra. That's her name. We've given them, so this is a dirt bath. Chickens actually take baths in dirt. The dirt gets inside their feathers and it suffocates any kind of bugs or mites that might be trying to live in their feathers. So it's kind of a way to clean out any pests. We just gave them this perch yesterday, so they've been trying to balance on it, but it's not the best. Or they're not the best at it. They kind of wobble, which is pretty cute, especially when they're trying to sleep. This is a little grass mound. We recently planted a Cabernet Sauvignon grapevine plant, and we put it in our yard, so that's from where we dug up the spot to grow it. Hello, anybody want to come up close? I'm gonna see, because if I put this down, they could very well just come up to it themselves. I'll sit over here, and you guys can still see me. So, again, let me know if you have any questions about the chicks, chick care, gardening in general. Here they come. So the yellow ones we can't really tell who's who. We named one Bindi after Steve Irwin's daughter, Bindi Irwin. One is Tatum. I don't know after who, maybe Channing Tatum. But and then the other one is going to our neighbors, so we just call it by their last names. So I don't know which ones you're seeing, but you girls are very loud. Lots are happening. Lots is happening. Sarah said, "Are chicks territorial at all?" Chicks, I don't think so, because they actually work together to stay warm. They cuddle when they're cold. So I wouldn't say that they're territorial, although when they grow up, they do become a bit territorial about their sleeping spot. but it's not necessarily their territorial as much as they just have their pecking order. So it's more of a dominance thing over trying to protect a zone or something. But that's a good question. That's a good question. They all went away. They're all eating. Hey. Hey. Hello. Hello. This one has a circle on her head, so we named her Pi, like the math symbol pi, 3.14. Let's see. My friend had really bad territory issues with her babies. Maybe it's like a rooster issue. It could be. I mean, you know, boys can be aggressive. So I'm sorry. I'll put you back. I'll put you back. I'll put you back. And that was it. That's all that she could take. We actually, at night, we rest them on our chest, and they can fall asleep. They like the warmth of our bodies. So, but yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off from here if there are no other questions. I want to get this heat lamp back on for the chicks. Oh yes, my mom said it's good to give some boredom busters so that they'll have things to do while growing in the brooders. Yeah, so that's why we have the grass mound, the dirt bath, the perch for them to jump on. We had a mirror in there, but it was duct taped, and the duct tape kept falling, and I was worried about their feet getting stuck. So I've since taken that out. But yeah, it is good to give them little things to do to keep them occupied and interested so that they don't pick on each other instead. So, good point. All right. Thank you for watching, everybody. And again, thank you for everybody who donates. Tune in tomorrow for Allegra bringing out our old snake, Monty, who has since retired, but I occasionally find sitting on my desk chair. So I have to be careful. And then I'll be here again next Wednesday. And I'm pretty excited about my topic idea for next week, so don't miss that one. All right, thank you everyone, and goodbye.